Really pleased to be here and looking forward to working with you this morning. I may have problems with my bandwidth on my internet, so if my voice goes like a Dalek or underwater, or if I disappear altogether, please tell me, especially when I start screen sharing. Sometimes it does that. So if I turn my video off, it improves the audio. So please do tell me if I'm not coming across okay. Okay, so I want to talk very briefly about my background and then talk about the Open Food Network. Um, I am going to make it really informal. Please do put questions up in the chat. If there's something that I'm saying that isn't clear, or if there's something you want me to say more about, then please just interrupt me. I'm really happy to be interrupted. I'm a part-time grower on a CSA project, a community supported agriculture project, and have been for 20 years now. I also helped to set up a food hub in the town where I live in southwest UK, and I'll talk more about food hubs in a moment. And I'm also working with the Open Food Network, which is a global community of farmers, growers, food activists, social entrepreneurs, with a common aim of fixing the food system. We believe that the global food system is broken and that we need to rebuild our food systems from the bottom up. And we are a group of people around the world who aim to do that collectively. And one of the tools that we develop in order to make that happen is this piece of software. We call it the Open Food Network. The word open represents the fact that this is open source software. There are lots of bits of software out there that aim to fix the food system, and lots of them work really, really well, and I welcome any attempts to fix the food system. One of the almost unique things about the Open Food Network, we're one of the very few pieces of software that is open source. By that, I mean it's commonly owned. It is not proprietary software. A lot of the software that you'll find out there is owned by somebody. Quite often it's venture capital funded, it's a profit-making business, and I have no problem with profit-making businesses. But when those businesses are, when the platforms they provide underpin a food system, my fear is that we'll end up with a food system in the same state as the current one, which is based on capitalist models. The supermarkets are legally obliged to maximize return to shareholders. That's what they have to do by law, and the whole system is based on maximizing the profits of the supermarkets, and I believe that is part of what is crippling our current food system. So let me get off my soapbox. Let me start to share my screen. I want to show you first of all the global. So this is what we're looking at now. Shout if you can't see my screen, but what we're looking at now is the global Open Food Network website, openfoodnetwork.org. And if we click here, we can actually see the global spread. At the moment, the Open Food Network is in 20 different countries. It was originally developed in Australia 8-9 years ago. We brought it to the UK about 5 years ago. It's now in all of these countries. 20 so far, with about another 15 countries in the process of setting up. These 3 are the closest to set up. They'll be joining us very soon now. What we found during COVID, we thought that the food systems in the UK were hit hard by COVID, and they were hit hard by COVID. But compared to what's been happening in the global south, in countries like Sri Lanka, like Colombia, like Guatemala, the food systems have been devastated by COVID, and these countries are very rapidly taking on the Open Food Network to help fix their food systems. So coming back a little closer to home, this is the map of the Open Food Network in the UK. What you'll see here is some tractor symbols. These are producers, farmers, growers, bakers, brewers, maybe people with an apple tree in their back garden and they have more apples than they need. Maybe somebody who enjoys making jam and they are happy to sell a few extra jars of jam, right up to, big farm scale, field scale farms. These shop symbols that you'll see they may be a farmer who has decided to sell direct from the farm, or it might be what I call a food hub. And that might be a farmer who's selling direct from his or her farm, as well as selling through other farms, as well as selling the produce of other farms. So this idea of a hub is a bit like a bicycle hub with multiple spokes coming into the center. So it may be that the farmer who's selling direct from the farm is also selling produce from other farms in the area. Or it might be a bit like the food hub that I helped to set up in Stroud about 15 years ago now, before we brought the Open Food Network to the UK. We had this idea that wouldn't it be nice if we could have a cooperative that brought together multiple producers with an online shop front that sold all of those products together. We wouldn't need a shop, it would all be online, but once a week we would hire a church hall and all the produce would be delivered to the church hall, sorted into boxes, and then go out to the shoppers, maybe to different pickup points, maybe for home delivery. It's now grown to a co-op with 85 producer members and about 350 shopper and buyer members. So people buying for their own household, and also businesses buying in bulk from the food hub. So some of the shop symbols you'll see here are not actually producers at all. They are simply people who are bringing together producers and producing a shop front. So let's zoom in a little bit closer to home and see what's going on around Fort William. Here you'll see this is Food Lochaber, which I'll show you in a moment. And if we zoom out a little bit, you can see that these are the producers who are selling into this food hub. So Food Lochaber is bringing together multiple producers into one shop. This is what their shop front looks like. We can either click on, why don't we go from here? So here we can find out a bit more about Food Lochaber, about the people who run it, their contact details. And their shop is open, so we can click on the shop. We get a little bit of information. They have a system of an order cycle. So they have a weekly order cycle. It will close in 4 days' time. Then an automatic email will go out to all of the producers to tell them what's been ordered this week. So that will give them time to harvest and prepare the produce. The beauty of that is that they know that everything that has been ordered is prepaid. There's no wastage at all. So they only harvest to order. And then the next order cycle will open and we will start taking orders for the following week. But what the shopper can do, this is what the shopper sees. The shopper doesn't see very much of the Open Food Network at all. There's a little bit of branding at the top here, but what they mainly see is the branding of their local hub. One of the principles of the Open Food Network is subsidiarity. We believe that decisions should be made at the most local level possible. So we don't have any because we're a not-for-profit open source platform, we're not aiming for world domination. We want people to customize this platform and make it their own. So we do encourage people to put their own branding on it, to put their own contact details. They have an about page to describe themselves. They can put up notices for their shoppers. Then the shopper can come in and they can browse by category, so they can look at the different types of products. There's also different properties. So the producers, when they're setting up the products, they can say if their products are certified organic or biodynamic. They can say if they're vegan, if they're plastic free, if they're gluten free, whatever. And then the shoppers can then filter on the properties and by the type of product. The shopper can then see the product. If they want a bit more detail on the product, they can click here. They can find out what is in that product, any property it has. They can see this is produced locally. If it was certified organic, they'll be able to see that here. And if they want to find out more about the producer, they can click here. Another of the principles of the Open Food Network is transparency. We want the shoppers to get as much detail about the product and about who produced it as possible. So the shopper can click here, they can find out who made this product, they can contact them if they want more details, they can follow them on social media. This particular producer has their own shop as well. Their own shop is closed at the moment, but they do have a shop in Fort William. And as well as selling direct to the public, they are also selling through this hub. The other thing about transparency is the pricing. So the shopper, as well as buying the product, can actually just click here and they can find out how much of that £4.40 is going to the baker and what's the markup that the hub is making. Natasha was talking about businesses and enterprises and the biosphere needing to make an income for the people who live there, as well as the producer getting a fair price for their product. Each individual hub decides what kind of markup they're going to make on the producer's selling price, because the hub does have costs. It needs to have a distribution point where the products come in. It needs to have people who will sort the products into boxes. It needs to distribute those boxes to the shoppers. So the hub will decide what the markup is. That's not set by the Open Food Network. That's set by the local hub, the local shopfront. Obviously, if you're a producer selling direct to the public, you don't need to make a markup. You will get the full selling price of your product. So the shopper will fill a basket with any lots of different products available from lots of different producers. They will then check out. They will let's do that actually. Let's go through and put a couple of products in a basket. Some of those. They go to the basket. They might want to edit the basket. If not, they're going to check out. And at checkout, I need to log in. And if I've shopped here before, it will then remember my my contact details. So it's got all my contact details at the top there. And there are then options. So this particular hub has just got one pickup point. There is the option to set up multiple pickup points. Some people might want to come to the hub to pick up. Some people might want home delivery. In this case, the pickup point is free. If it was a home delivery, then you probably would have to pay extra for home delivery, and that would then be added to your basket. And then there's various different payment options. In this case, they're only taking card payments, but there is options to set up BACS transfer, PayPal, cash, check, whatever. Once you had selected how you wanted to pay and put your credit card details in, you'd place the order, you would receive an email, the shop would receive an email to confirm that the order had been placed. And at the end of the order cycle, all of those orders will be compiled together and all of the producers would receive an email purchase order to tell them what had been ordered that week. So that's very briefly what it looks like from the shopper's perspective. Let me take you to the back end. So some of you on the call will be producers, and this is what you'll be looking at as a producer. You would probably only have one enterprise here, which will be your personal enterprise. I've got various here because I'm logged in with an email address that has access to lots of organizations. But you would just see your enterprise here. You'll be able to click here and add products. If you've got lots of products, you could import them from an Excel spreadsheet, but you'd probably, if you've only got a few products, you'd probably just do it manually. You'd put your name in here. You put the name of your product. You'd decide whether you were selling it by weight or by volume or by items. So maybe if you're selling bunches of carrots, you would sell it as an item and you'd define the name of the item. But potatoes, you're probably selling in by weight. You'd say what kind of product it is. You'd choose from one of these categories. You'd set your selling price. So the producer sets their selling price. And this is one of the most important things about the Open Food Network, that rather than the supermarket system where the supermarket tells the producer what they're going to be paid for their product, the producer sets the price for their product. The hub, if they are selling through a hub, the hub would then make a markup on it, but the producer would define the price they would get when the product was sold. They'd set a stock limit, so they'd say how much they've got available of that product. And that's quite important, because if the producer is selling direct from the farm and they're selling through a hub, and they might be selling through a producer hub, maybe another farm down the road that's also selling their products, it's really important that we don't oversell, so that as all these different outlets are selling, they're drawing from a single stock level, and as those different shopfronts sell products, it counts down, and when it gets to zero, it's no longer available to be bought from any of the shops. If the producer is VAT registered, they need to enter the category of VAT in there. If the product is chilled or frozen, then we need to know about that to help with distribution. You then upload a picture of your product. You give us as much detail as possible in the description there, and then your product is available for sale. You then do one of two things. You either come here and you give permission to somebody else to sell your product, and that's the networking part of the Open Food Network. When we looked at that map, you saw probably about 3,000 producers across the UK and about 250 shops that are actually making those products available to the end users, the customers and the buyers. The system is designed so that you can set up lots of different types of shops. You might be a farmer with selling direct from the farm. You might be a food hub like the one I just described. You might be a little village shop that wants to have an online shop front to supplement the village shop. One of the problems with village shops with quite a small catchment is that perishable produce particularly isn't really viable. If you're selling spinach and you put spinach on the shelf on a Friday, whatever's not sold by a Monday isn't worth selling. You do have a lot of waste, and it also does take up quite a lot of shelf space. So a lot of village shops have an online shop front where they offer this fresh produce and perishable produce for sale. They also offer produce that's on the shelves in the shop, and then people can place an order. Particularly vulnerable people who don't want to come into the shop can place an online order. At the end of the week, the purchase orders go out to all of the producers. The produce is harvested, brought into the shop, and the shoppers come in and pick up their fresh produce. They maybe buy a few extra things from the shop while they're there, but it does extend the product lines available through the shop. Some of the shop fronts are farmers markets. So a traditional farmers market may want to have an online shop front as well as people coming into the market, so that people who don't want to come to the market or can't get to the market can also place an order. It also means that producers who are too small to justify having a stall at the market can also sell through the online shop front, and then the pre-ordered stuff is brought to the market, sorted into boxes, and then goes out to the shoppers. There's a lot of plastic-free shops using the Open Food Network. There's many food co-ops and buying groups who are buying in from wholesalers. So they're buying bulk sacks of 25 kilos of pasta and 25 kilos of rice, buying that at wholesale prices, then splitting it up and dividing it amongst their members to make it more affordable. There's food banks distributing surplus food. Many different types of enterprises selling that food. But what is possible within the Open Food Network is, once you're a producer, you can give permission to anybody in the network to sell your products. So there's this, what we describe as a mycelium, like an underground mushroom network, which is a very interconnected network where once you're part of the network, you can give permission. So you could say, okay, myself as the producer will give permission to anybody who I want to. This is the 200 or 300 shops across the UK who are available to sell through. You would want to find Food Locker Bear. Let's see if we can find Food Locker Bear here. There we go. And you would give them permission to add your products to their order cycle. The order cycle is the period during which the shopper or the buyer places an order for delivery or collection at a particular time. You might, as a producer, want to also give the shop permission to manage your products. What we do find is a lot of food producers are fantastic at growing food, fantastic at rearing animals, fantastic at making bread, but they don't want to be bothered with computers. So many of our producers will click this box and they will say to the shop, I've put my products up, you manage them for me. Or even they might just send the shop a list of their products. The shop will set them up and the shop will then manage their products on an ongoing basis. Our food hub, we have quite a few producers who will phone up the manager and say, can you add carrots to my list, or can you take broccoli off this week, or I've got a glut of broad beans this week, can you add them for me? And we will do that work for the producer, and we will then just charge a slightly higher markup on their products to cover our time in managing their products. Or producers might want to actually give permission to the shop to entirely manage their profiles. They're basically handing over their Open Food Network enterprise to the shop to manage them. There's also inventory. I won't spend a lot of time on that, but that allows a producer to, if they're selling through multiple shops, to limit how much product goes to each of the shops they're selling through. So there's a virtual inventory system within OFN. Oh, I'm running out of time here, but I could talk to you about setting up an order cycle, which is deciding which producers a shop is going to sell. Once the permission is set up, then the shop can actually set up order cycles. It can set up reports. It can look at the orders that's come in and produce invoices. It can link to accounting systems and marketing systems, so things like MailChimp, so that you can send a regular reminder to your shoppers when the order cycle opens. You can send another email when the order cycle is about to close. You can look at your customers. You can set up payment methods. You can set up shipping methods. You can tag certain customers. So if you want to sell to wholesale customers and you want your wholesale customers to have a different price, maybe they're buying bulk, you can tag your wholesale customers so that they see a different price on the shop front. So you can customize the shop front to suit different shoppers. Let me think. If there are questions, do shout them out. I can't see the chat at the moment because I'm screen sharing, but I think I am going to just take you through an order cycle. So I'm going to show you the order cycle of the Food Hub that I help to manage, because I'm most familiar with that one. So Stroudco is the name of our Food Hub. Let me take you through this order cycle. So this is the order cycle that is about to open. Each order cycle has an opening and a closing time. In fact, it opened this morning. Yeah, it opened at 8 o'clock this morning, and it will close at 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning. And if I go to incoming products, you can actually see all of the producers that we're selling on our Food Hub at the moment. So here you can see the name of the producer. He's got 15 products. If I click here, I can actually see those products. And I can see that I'm making a 25% markup on this meat. If I scroll down, so yeah, I think Artisan Jack, we're charging 25% because we have to manage his products. Most of the other producers, we're charging 20%. Godsall's cheese, we charge a specific markup for them. Each producer gets a delivery slot. So let me just find somebody who. So each producer will have different delivery arrangements. This has been set up since COVID. We've made quite a lot of changes to the software since COVID, because we need the producers not all to deliver at the same time, so that we can socially distance the producers. They're all given a time slot. Also, the shoppers are given time slots. If they're picking up from a pickup point, they're given a time slot when they should pick up, just to spread them out a bit. So we bring all of these products together from multiple producers, and then we can see all of those products together. Because we're a hub, we've got multiple incoming products, and we can now see that there are 900 products available for sale this week. What we can do is we can set up another distribution point. So what we could do is we could give permission to somebody else in the network to have access to all of these products. We would bring them all together, and then they would distribute them at a different time in a different place. They would pick up from our pickup point, they would take them somewhere else, and then they would be a separate distributor. So there are options to have layers of distribution within the Open Food Network. I think I'm nearly out of time. So what I'm going to do is pause briefly. If anybody does want to unmute and shout a question, then they can. And I can always come back here and do more screen sharing if you want more detail.